I'm here on this floor to beg, to literally get down on my hands and knees and beg my colleagues. Find a path forward here. Work with us to find a way to pass laws that make this less likely.
That's Connecticut Democratic Senator Chris Murphy desperately searching for more than thoughts and prayers from his GOP colleagues in Congress. Because last year, the Democratic House of Representatives passed two measures that would have expanded and strengthened background checks for gun purchases. But those bills, along with a proposed assault weapons ban, never had a chance of getting past 50 Republican senators, and of course Joe Manchin, even though poll after poll over the past decade has shown an overwhelming majority of Americans, between 80 and 90%, favor universal background checks, including most gun owners and a big majority of the National Rifle Association's own membership, believe it or not. Despite what the gun lobby says, there is a consensus on a lot of common sense and very basic gun reform proposals in this country. But none of them are getting to Joe Biden's desk, even as Republicans in multiple states are sprinting in the other direction, approving campus carry, open carry, and quote-unquote constitutional carry, putting more guns in more places and in more untrained hands. So what should Democrats in Congress do to tackle Republican obstructionism? What's the next step? There has to be a next step, right? Joining me now is Democratic Congressman David Cicilline of Rhode Island. He serves on the House Gun Violence Prevention Task Force and has repeatedly introduced a new assault weapons ban in Congress. As mayor of Providence, he was a founding member of Mayors Against Illegal Guns. Congressman, thank you for coming back on the show. Time and again since Sandy Hook, mass shooters have used variants of the AR-15 assault-style weapon, and it's increasingly becoming a symbol of freedom on the right, bizarrely. You have introduced an assault weapons ban several times in Congress now, along with Senator Dianne Feinstein, who helped pass the original ban that was in effect in the 1990s. Your bills have gone nowhere. Critics say a ban won't work. It stops the manufacture of new weapons, but it doesn't do anything about the at least 20 million of those weapons that are already out there. What do you say to them?
Well, they're wrong. I mean, as the president said last night, when the assault weapons ban was in place, mass shootings declined significantly. And when it was allowed to expire, they tripled. So look, these are weapons of war. They're designed to kill as many people as quickly as possible. They don't belong in our communities, on the streets of our cities, or in suburban or rural areas. But look, we have dozens of bills in the House that will help reduce gun violence in this country. We've passed two already: universal background checks and closing the Charleston loophole. The Republicans in the Senate are blocking those bills, background checks that everyone supports. But I think we need to bring more bills to the floor. We need to mark them up in judiciary, bring them to the House floor, let people vote. Let's see where they stand. Our most basic responsibility is to keep people safe. We are failing the children of America in that regard. We've had 27 school shootings this year, over 200 mass shootings already.
So last night, Kurt Bardella, the former GOP consultant turned never-Trumper, now Democratic Party advisor, tweeted, and I quote, "If I were the majority leader, I'd put a simple background check bill on the floor tonight for a vote." It seems straightforward enough to those of us who are not in Congress. On Wednesday, though, have a listen to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, sounding like he had already admitted defeat.
Americans can cast their vote in November for senators or members of Congress that reflect how he or she stands with guns, with this issue at the top of the voters' lists. In the meantime, my Republican colleagues can work with us now. I know this is a slim prospect, very slim, all too slim. We've been burnt so many times before.
Senator Schumer is taking steps to put two background check measures on the Senate calendar where they might get a floor vote. But why not hold a vote as soon as possible? Force Republicans to be seen actively blocking legislation that even a majority of their own supporters say they want in the polls.
I agree. But the other reality is we have got to get rid of the filibuster. This is a device that was created to slow progress on civil rights. It allows the minority in the Senate, the Republicans, to overrule the will of the majority. And as a result, we can't get voting rights passed. We can't get reproductive freedom for women protected. We can't get gun safety legislation acted. We need to ensure that the Senate becomes democratic. And the only way to do that is get rid of the filibuster so we can have an up or down vote on the priorities of the American people. But we allow a minority of the Senate to control the agenda by use of the filibuster. It's wrong, it's undemocratic, and it means we're not delivering on the important responsibilities we have to the American people.
Congressman, we played Steve Kerr earlier on the show, the NBA coach, referring to GOP senators as hostage takers on this issue. Some are going further, saying those hostage takers are responsible for the lives lost. Your colleague, Congressman Ruben Gallego from Arizona, for example, do you, like him, believe that elected members of the congressional GOP now have blood on their hands?
But look, I think there's no question the GOP has prevented us from enacting any measures to reduce gun violence in this country. And all we're seeing is more and more gun violence, more children, more families being destroyed by the epidemic of gun violence. And because they are bought and sold by the gun lobby in this country, they have stood in the way. And I think as a result of their inaction or their obstruction or their failure to join us in this effort, more and more people are dying at the hands of guns in this country. And we have got to change that. And it's going to require Republicans to understand that our most important responsibility is to keep people safe. We have a gun violence epidemic in America, unlike anywhere else in the world, because it's too easy to get a gun. Some of the guns that we allow are too dangerous. And we can do something about it if people will stand up and remember why they were elected and who they're supposed to be serving.